Welcome to On Ice, the show about the show. Today, we're talking about Lost in general. I'm Will, also here is Ben, and you can watch full video episodes of the podcast on YouTube. Ben and I also release a bonus hangout show every week that can be found at patreon.com/Dr. Skeleton. This is a bit of our victory lap episode, Ben. We don't have a strict structure. We're just going to be talking about the show as a whole. We've had a week to process the end of Lost. How you feeling 1 week removed from after seeing the finale?
Well, okay, I don't want to preempt something that I think we're going to talk about, but I guess I will. Say, yeah. Okay, so I was feeling pretty good after the episode that we watched last week, and then I started thinking about it and feeling a little worse. I was like, I don't know. Well, I guess maybe I was questioning things, and then you sent me a real zinger of an article from the past that I read on archive.org and it made me feel pretty bad about the show. Then I got around to watching the epilogue that we were supposed to watch for this week, and I'm feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good again, and I put together my list of all the stuff that we're going to talk about today. Feeling pretty good. So
Nice. Sounds like it's been a real roller coaster of a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's start at. I think that we'll have two big categories of how to talk about the show as a whole. Now that we've seen everything, we've done a little bit of research. We'll have the how we feel about the show, as a work of fiction, reactions to the art itself. And then there'll be some categories about we found some behind the scenes information, some more context for the production and how it interacts with culture outside of just the pure the form of the artifact itself. And I think we'll talk about both of those. But let's start by catching up with the epilogue, because that's the last piece of canon fiction that we watched in there. And I guess I'll start by saying,
Wikipedia style, happening after the events of 99% of the show of Lost.
Yeah. To react to the fiction of the Lost television show, I'm incredibly pissed off by the epilogue. I just want to start
really
there. I'm furious, Ben.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like this is gonna be our big disagreement then.
Big disagreement, because unless we watched the same thing, I think, right? I sent you the link. What was it that I sent you?
The epilogue?
Yeah.
On
what was
YouTube?
It called? Yeah.
I don't know what it was called.
All right, I'm looking
the Return.
All right, let me look it up here. All right, it says here that the Lost epilogue was released August 24th, 2010. It was called The Newman in Charge, and we found out that Newman is in charge of the island? That this is all been a spin-off of Seinfeld, dude? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yep.
I get now why people were so fucking mad about the end of Lost.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, man.
That is a good point. I didn't think about that. I
mean, really advanced bit here.
It does start with, scene, interior, mailroom, Dharma Initiative mailroom, essentially.
Yeah. Okay, so That's not actually my reaction to the epilogue. I thought it was fine. I thought it was like we could actually talk about. It's called The New Man in Charge. It's like 12 minutes long. How long after the only like a month or so, or it wasn't too long after.
And it never aired on TV.
Never aired on TV. It's part of the DVD, but like it's considered part of the lost canon by like Lindelof and company, which like I think it's worth having a conversation about like what that means. We don't have to get into it like too much here, but like they've
got like cell phone optimized videos that are supposed to be part of the lost canon as well that I think we never watched, you know.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna watch them either. I kind of just want to watch the TV show, I guess. But this seemed like an easy enough like one added thing that like I think is supposed to also help address some like hanging threads. I mean, like that's literally what it is.
It actually did address probably one of my biggest ones, which is extremely unimportant, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But it did address some things for me.
Okay, good. I guess, let's just like talk about it real quick. It's called The New Man in Charge. It was directed by Paul Edwards. It was written by Melinda Sue Taylor, Graham Rowland, and Jim Galasso. It was released August 24th, 2010. It's 12 minutes long, and this was on like the DVD release of the sixth and final season of Lost. I guess it leaked 18 days before the official release. We have two main locations for it. One on the Orote Peninsula in Guam, or Orote. Sometime after the events of The End, in 2010, Ben visits two Dharma Initiative workers, Hector and Glenn, in a warehouse in Guam. Ben dismisses the two workers from their job of loading up a food pallet as he is tying up loose ends, quote unquote. And after paying them, reveals that the Dharma Initiative has not been in existence for over 20 years. Before Ben can leave, the workers request some answers, and he complies by showing them the orientation film of the Dharma Initiative's Hydra Station. The video reveals that Dr. Pierre Chang was not using an alias at the time, as his name had not been leaked to a third party. This explains like the Martin Candle thing or whatever.
Yep.
The video explores the nature. You got doxed. The video explores the nature of the Hydra Station's experiments on hybrid birds and time travel experiments on polar bears, as well as the purpose of Room 23, which was created to interrogate the hostiles regarding Jacob. Then they like walk out. I mean, it's mostly an orientation film that we watch here. That's just sort of like a quick hits of like, this is what this was about. This is what that was about.
Which is, I liked the polar bear part. I gotta say, that was one of the dumb little loose ends things for me that I was thinking back on. Like, did we have a resolution to that? What was the polar bear
and what
about?
was it? It's that like polar bears are like for some reason like biologically good to experiment on for time travel for some arbitrary reason.
Electromagnetic reasons.
Yeah, they have special resistance to that or something.
Yeah.
And the hybrid birds. Apparently, this is kind of funny to look into because whatever, we watched the show. I guess we're not really paying attention because I looked at, have you heard about the Hurley bird?
No.
Okay. Me either. Where like apparently people were like really wondering like what is the Hurley bird like throughout this whole show. And I'm looking it up and like 2 times in the show there appeared a giant bird creature, like weird like dinosaur looking ass thing that like said Hurley or said like made a sound that sounded a little bit like Hurley or something, and it was like enormous, and people have been like, what? People were wondering what that was, and like I just totally missed it. And then so yeah, apparently they had to explain it in this thing, which was that, yeah, they were doing experiments on birds and making them hybrid creatures called hybrids.
Yeah, that was an awesome name, though, by the way.
I mean,
It's
just like totally missed me, man.
Pierre Jang's like, we're making hybrid birds, aka hybirds. And he's like looking very smug. Get it?
Fun, man. All right, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hurley Bird, no, did not. Man, we were so bad at watching this show.
Dude, we are.
Do not recall. This is like, that's literally like Yellow King style stuff from True Detective or something for me. Like, yeah, I totally missed the Yellow King running around in the background. The Hurley Bird? Are you sure this is not a joke?
Well, that's why there's this whole section in the... I don't think it's supposed to be like the main focus of a frame or something.
Okay.
I could just get... I think people were just picking through things. I don't know. So at some point there must have been a big fucking bird.
Somebody's just they're playing ping pong or whatever in the early seasons, and then maybe a bird just walks through the background and it's just early.
Yeah, like literally, I think it's kind of like that.
It is the Yellow King thing for real. Then. Yeah, that's insane.
Well, I mean that didn't actually happen in the show, but yes.
Well, yeah, exactly. But it's like the joke.
It's the joke, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's
apparently
insane.
people have been wondering that the whole time. Not us though. We've been fine.
This has opened up a new line of questions for me, which sound like they can be answered, but I'd have to go back and watch it. You know.
Yeah. Man. Okay, and so the room 23. Oh no, go ahead. You were about to say something.
Well, I'm gonna roll back a little bit. Ben pays these guys. I did. Okay. Yeah. First of all, I did like the setup. Seeing these guys doing their thing in the warehouse, I was like, "This is cool. This is the
like, how long are you gonna take labeling those beans?"
Back office,
just putting like labels on cans.
Yeah, exactly. You know, back office Dharma initiative. I like that kind of stuff. You know, I like the corporate.
I like the Dharma initiative stuff of Lost was super interesting to me. Yeah. This was cool.
Ben pays them. And I forget exactly what he says, but they're just like, what? You're just going to come in here after 20 years and tell us we've been wasting our time? And then he gives them the thing and the money in an envelope and is basically like, there's some payment in there. And I think it speaks for itself. Like, as
you'll be able to do anything you want.
An incredible amount of money. But it's still like, okay, I haven't really done the math on this, but he's handed them like a manila envelope with $100 bills in it. And it's like a slip. It's not a huge manila envelope. And they're $100 bills. I don't think there's 1,000.
It's like maximum $10,000.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like,
which I wouldn't turn down $10,000, but as far as I'm going to live the rest of my life on this, dude.
I think you won't have any questions after this. What do you say to $15,000?
Yeah.
I got a lot of questions. This is less than minimum wage even for like 1 year.
For now. Yeah.
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 So felt bad about them for that.
So
I do like the meta thing. Who I think you're kind of getting to. So you watch the video, and then Ben's like, "Yeah, I'll answer one question for you," which at a meta level is kind of funny, like a writer to fan thing of like, "Okay, you caught us. There are like a million things that we haven't tied up. I will give you dumbasses 2 questions. Yeah. We'll give you 11 minutes of answers. That's it. I don't give a shit about the rest of this stuff. Just deal with it. So ask wisely. The polar bear and the Hurley bird. Okay. Yeah, you can get an answer to that. None of the other stuff.
And yeah, the purpose of Room 23, which was created to interrogate the hostiles regarding Jacob.
Yep.
It was the brainwashing room that we saw Carl tied up in.
Yep. Clockwork Orange.
It was like the Clockwork Orange situation. They're playing drum and bass and flashing advertisements at them.
Don't you think these guys have only been in there for 20 years? Went in there in the 90s, and they're older guys. these guys they've seen Clockwork Orange. Well, don't you think if you went into a room in 1990 and you were already like 20, something like that? Well, I mean, I guess now 20 years later, you'd be like, isn't this
a little bit?
Isn't this a Clockwork Orange? Isn't this like a
Yeah.
Clockwork Orange?
Hey, this is a little bit like that show Lost that's on TV. I guess. Well, yeah. Let's talk about our reactions to this part before the next part, because the more I'm thinking about this, the less like. Okay, I like. Okay. I don't know how to say this. The orientation film. I love an orientation film. That was like a super compelling part of the show to me, and I think that as a dramatic device, the orientation films and like the questions that have been set up were always. I think the writers made the world of Lost and used these different like devices because they thought they would be interesting and compelling and evocative, and the answers maybe not that important. I think they just kind of like it's almost like a reaction to the finale where like, oh, well, we never got the answers to this, and this, and like, well, how about like we'll just run through it as a checklist then really quick, and that's not. I didn't find it particularly satisfying. I guess let me footnote that or asterisk that, qualify that. It's not that I didn't find it satisfying. I guess I'm glad that I'm simultaneously like glad this wasn't in the actual finale, and like glad they actually spent time talking about, or I'm glad they did the finale the way they did, rather than this last one being so sort of like, oh, they found the last DVD and they found out like, oh, okay, that's what the polar bear thing was about. That's what this was about. XYZ, and then end of show or something.
Yeah.
I'm glad they went more like abstract, metaphorical with that.
Yeah. Though, okay, I'm not going to get ahead of myself on this one, but I have a bigger theory, meta theory about this epilogue, though, that ties into that, which I will share in a few minutes.
All right, great. I'm looking forward to it.
In typical Lost style. It's not going to be that good.
Bit of a flash forward here.
It's not going to be that good when I tell you it, but maybe you'll be interested for the next couple minutes.
I guess so. Like, I guess it was fine. Like these are things. This next part, I guess, the next part of the epilogue at the Mental Health Institute, the Santa Rosa Mental Health Institute, is I think something that is a little bit more compelling, from a narrative perspective,
yes,
a character perspective, and like I think probably should have been in the finale one way or another, and that is the following. Ben arrives at the Santa Rosa Mental Health Institute and visits Walt. He reminds Walt that he is special and that back on the island he will be able to help his father, Michael, even though Michael is dead. Ben tells Walt that the island is his home and that he has to go back. Together, they leave Santa Rosa. When Ben and Walt reach a Dharma van, they find Hurley waiting for them. Walt tells Hurley that he had long waited for the survivors to come back for him, and that he had been labeled insane because no one believed his story. Hurley reassures him that he's not insane at all, and attributes Walt's existential distress to his separation from the island. He tells Walt that the island is his home and that he intends to talk to Walt about a job. Hurley then suggests that they all go home, and the van drives away into the night.
Okay, first of all, Ben goes to the mental hospital in the most suspect way of all time. Like, walks in the middle of the night, runs into like a nurse or whatever, and is like, I would like, he doesn't call him by name, but presumably says like, I would like to talk to Walt. And the nurse is like, do you know, are you family? Are you a friend? And Ben's like, No, but I
Visiting
think
hours are 12 hours from now.
yeah. It's like a family or friend? No, but I think when you show him what's on this piece of paper, he's gonna want to meet with me. And then he hands her the piece of paper and she like looks at it. And then what you just explained happens, but like she reads the piece of paper very quickly, so presumably something's on it. And in my mind, presumably that thing is like, I would like you to come to an island with me. Young teenage boy.
Yeah. Yeah, what could have been on that piece of paper to convince that orderly to lose all protocol for visiting and just like
You belong on the island with me, little boy. Wink. Someone go
yikes.
calling you in from this is front desk. Get Walt out here immediately. With a grown man.
Wake him up.
Man
Yeah.
would like to see him.
We'd like to take him to an island. That's fine. I mean, is maybe the Santa Rosa Mental Health Institute connected to Dharma in some way? And then
Is it connected to is it connected to a New York financier?
yeah, okay. Yeah, we get it, man. So big problem that I had with the finale that we talked about last week.
Yep.
I think we both had the finale was like the whole like absence of Michael and Walt from it. And I got it. I guess honestly, I think this addresses it for me to a certain extent.
Nice.
I mean,
Carlton Cuse and Damon Lindelof like fist bump, showing it to the
nice,
at the
we got
screener.
him. Yeah.
Like, so many people are pissed off. Like they were pissed off about that thing. Oh, we didn't include them. And then, to be honest, this is exactly what I wanted. no notes.
We've never had a satisfied customer. This is the first time this has happened.
First time in the entire show run. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess what I mean by that is like if this were this to have been in the finale, I think this would have been okay for me. The fact that it's in like a supplemental DVD extra is not, I think, that like necessarily knocks it down for me. Because again, like I think my main gripe with the absence of Michael and Walt was that like it straight up felt racist that Michael and Walt weren't in the finale, and and we'll get into the article I guess in a bit, but it felt it was like a very like weird noted absence that they weren't in the finale, and like yeah, the fact that this was a DVD extra, like yeah, I don't know, doesn't quite. Oh geez, I just squished a really big, gross, juicy bug on my desk. Ugh. All right, I'm gonna cover that up for now. Anyway, how'd you feel about this part?
Yeah, it was good. I guess it. I don't know if I would have appreciated it as much if I had not read the article that you've also now referred to, that we will talk about in a few minutes. But yeah, it did something for me there, I suppose. Yeah, I've now is as good of a time as any, now that we've opened up another thing that's going to happen in a couple minutes, to just say my theory about the epilogue is that rather than it being actually like an epilogue, I mean, this is obviously not backed up by anything that's happened in the real world to date, as far as I know. But rather than being like a real epilogue and kind of capping off the whole story, the fictional universe or whatever, I feel like it honestly was like an attempt to leave the door open to spin-offs, other material, for want of a better phrase for it. With the Walt thing, with the um, thing going on in Guam as well. Do you get that feeling at all? And again, I realize it's not backed up by anything in the last 15 years, but it kind of feels like it's a little bit of both,
Well,
playing both
it
sides of
sets up
like
like
we'll
now you
cap
can
off some stuff.
imagine. Yeah. Now you because like yeah, it's like Hurley and Walt and Ben are gonna go like run the island,
Yeah,
and they're taking the teenage boy off to an island to groom him into a position.
yeah,
But okay, but like yeah, someday Walt's gonna run the island, uh, or something. Like he's gonna be the
yeah.
protector, I guess, and like help Michael, move on. And I honestly don't think that it was like a Marvel post credits thing, like feeling like it's setting something up. I don't.
Mm.
I think that like it's more. I think it's more so that like, oh, we can kind of imagine it because now that like the mysteries of the island are solved. I don't know what like that was a big reason that people would have been watching the show. I don't know why they would want to just set up like imagine we keep doing island stuff but with different people.
Sure, but I like. I don't think it has to be different people though either. I kind of got this feeling. I guess I didn't say this before, and it didn't really, uh, how would you say it, like metastasize in my mind until I saw the epilogue. But where this kind of idea actually originally came from in my mind, I think just more subconsciously, was in the end. By the flashing forward all the way to, you know, past the end of time, basically, they've like they've left open the lives that are basically like infinitely long at this point, if they want it to be, of all of the people who haven't died yet by the end of Lost, or by the end of Lost
Sure.
before that part. I'm not saying that it's setting something up in the way that like a Marvel post credit scene does, but it did feel almost like an industry or like a corporate, or maybe on a just a personal creator level, like just one last little hedge to leave the door open. So yeah, just the difference between setting something up versus leaving a door open that you may or may not use in the future.
You know, the more that you talk about it, and like I guess I can only speculate about the intentions, and like I don't know how interesting my speculation on their intentions is. But what I the more that I think about it, I think there could be an interesting story to tell now that like once you sort of like address all of like the weird stuff about the island, or at least like it we have like a new generation. We've got Ji-Yun, we've got Aaron, um we've got Walt. We could do like Lost the Next Generation kind of thing in some ways. That's like maybe like when because we finally found out at the end of Lost that like oh the point the whole time was really this like a character drama, and it's about like dealing with like the like intergenerational trauma in a lot of ways from their parents, and there could be there could be interesting things to do with like now we know that like the island was like really important to our parents, and it has like these special properties. Maybe there's something to be reckoning with their past there in a more like a more like direct way.
Yeah.
I don't know, but maybe there's something interesting that you could do with it.
But I mean, I don't disagree with that, but I don't think I was even imagining it as like a next generation
Mhm.
type thing. There are literally a
Baby
lot of.
Losties, like Baby Jack and Baby Kate.
I mean, this is why I'm not a writer, but I just want to call out that like there are still major cast members who are not dead.
yeah, we could see old
Right.
Frank, we could see old Miles, or even same age.
Same
We've got
age.
plenty of time left for them to have done
Yeah.
interesting stuff.
Kate,
Yeah,
right? Sawyer,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. All those people. I mean, I guess, yeah. Again, not backed up by the last 15 years, so probably the value of this thought goes down with every day. But like, writers have done more with much less of a window than
Sure.
what I feel
Yeah.
like they've set up. I mean, what with the Breaking Bad thing, right? Maybe I'm misremembering it, but like that kind of, to me, as like a casual viewer or whatever, that's kind of wrapped up the saga there. But then, what if we did the lawyer guy? What if we did that weird lawyer guy? They left a big door open on this one. Is
Yeah.
my one little theory.
I mean, I would be down for a whole like just Dharma spin-off show altogether.
Yeah.
Like it could be a totally new cast even, and just like really lean into the weird like paranoia 70s corporate thriller type stuff. Make it like that Homecoming show. Like you could do some really cool stuff with that. Give us the keys for Lost 2. We'll do it. Any other thoughts on the epilogue? I think we got to
We can
get this
move on.
moving. Okay. All right. Let's just talk about the article.
Sure.
Because we've talked about it enough. Bit of a bummer to end to end on. So let's start it.
Yeah, are you feeling
do it
good
now.
about this show right now, folks? If so, have we got something for you to read?
Yeah, this is an article called "Lost Illusions: The Untold Story of the Hit Show's Poisonous Culture," and this appeared in Vanity Fair in May 2023. It was written by Maureen Ryan. And this is an excerpt from the book "Burn It Down" by Maureen Ryan, I guess. And yeah, I don't really know how to really do this. I would encourage people to read it. It's kind of a long article, but like it changes how I think about the show.
Yeah.
A lot. And I guess other context that I learned in the last week, now that I can like look at interviews and hear about like oral histories of the show, whatever. Yeah, so like J.J. Abrams was basically not involved. Like we know that, but like early on, J.J. Abrams and Damon Lindelof like did season 1 together. J.J. Abrams got like pulled away to do Mission Impossible 3, so left Damon Lindelof in charge of this massive hit TV show. Damon Lindelof was 30 years old, which that kind of, before I read this article, I heard that like he was put in charge of this at 30. I was like, oh shit, wow, that's crazy. And then so Damon Lindelof hired Carlton Cuse, who was like an earlier boss from a previous writing job, to help him run this and like get things get it writing or whatever. And this article though talks about the kind of the poisonous culture that seemed to exist during the making of the show. And I guess like a couple of main things that I'd like to talk about here. Let's start with Michael and Walt, I guess, the Michael stuff. They courted Harold Perrineau, the actor who plays Michael Dawson, pretty heavily, it sounds like, to recruit him to be part of the show, because he was gonna bring some early prestige TV cred to
Star
this.
power.
Star power, because he's part of Oz on HBO. And I mean, also just like a good actor, but yeah, star power to it. And he was conscious of the fact that like this was going to be a network television show, and it was also being sold as it was going to be like serialized or procedural. I can't remember which one. Of the thing is like I think procedural is the right word to use, actually, where like you kind of just like drop into a show. You don't need to watch any of the other episodes, and you don't need to be able to follow what's going on. That ended up not being the case, but it's a network show. They haven't really done this kind of storytelling on network TV before, which that just immediately made me think about the show that we're doing next, because they have. But at this scale, maybe not. And anyway, they basically promised Harold Perrineau that yeah, okay, we've got a big ensemble cast of characters here. But the cool thing about this is that we're going to give everybody equitable time. He was worried about just being the black guy as part of a network, as a trope, as a storytelling pattern of being kind of shortchanged, falling into stereotypes, et cetera, et cetera. And they really wanted him to be on the show, and they told him, no, that's not going to happen. Everyone's going to get they're not in the promising we're averaging down to the second, everyone's going to have the equal amount of screen time. And he wasn't expecting that either, but just there's going to we're gonna do right by each of your characters here. And then he agreed to be on the show. As it goes, it seems like he's seeing what he was worried about happen. He's noticing okay, this is really kind of turning into the Jack Kate and Sawyer show. These are all white characters that are getting the majority of the screen time. And not only just that, and I don't mean to make this sound like Harold Perrineau was oh, I'm not being on screen too much, but what he's noticing is the racialized pattern that's happening here, and the other things about the stereotypical sort of pitfalls that the character Michael and Walt are experiencing, a black father not being interested in finding his kid, for example, or not being around for his kid too, that he objected to pretty strongly. Yeah. He wanted to be more involved and interested in caring about his son.
And I think diverting a lot of the potential places where that could have happened, diverting that towards the white characters. The one that really struck me the most was he talks about at the end of season 1, when Walt is kidnapped, right? And Michael and Sawyer and Jen end up on the raft, right? And at some point, it's just the two of them on the raft. And I think it's even in an episode that's supposed to be a Michael episode. And he's flashing back to things. And all of the discussion keeps getting redirected to, on the raft, keeps getting redirected to Sawyer talking about his feelings when, in this situation, seems so important that Michael's sort of the center of the story here. He's the kid he's the guy who lost his kid. It's his flashbacks. It's him with the closest connection to what's going on. And they're taking the black man and his lost son, created this setting for that just to redirect the conversation back to this white character.
Yeah. And Harold Perrineau had a problem with that, and brought it up to Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse, it sounds. And there seems to be evidence that he was kind of retaliated against by being scheduled for some really brutal shooting days, and you're gonna have 18-hour shoot days or something coming up. We're gonna give you a bunch of stuff that you're gonna have to do kind of in an anomalous way, because how dare you question us, kind of thing. Yeah. And
the way he just describes it, and I think other people interviewed in that article, they talk about it this is something that he raised to the leads of this show, and he was already aware, just naturally aware, that people get extremely to put it lightly, like standoffish if you even imply, or especially if you use the word, racism, or imply that there's any, racism going on. And then yeah, that's leads into what the type of retaliation that you're talking about.
Yeah, there it's the overwhelming like or an overwhelming like feeling I get or sense that I get from reading this article and reading like what Harold Perrineau was saying was like how like uh mindful he is and was about this. Like he's doing his very best to be reasonable and stand by his principles throughout all of it. Where like again he's like, okay, yeah, I know it's a TV show that not everybody's gonna be able to have like exactly the same amount of like seconds of screen time. That's not really what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
I'm just noticing a pattern, and also like I'm noticing that there's like this pattern of the racial stereotypes happening again here in this show. And I know that people get sensitive when you bring up like race, and like they'll maybe think that you're playing the race card, but I'm black. And that was a funny moment in the thing that I thought like made a lot of sense. Like if you're worried about me playing the race card, like, well, the thing is I am black and I am noticing these things.
Yeah.
So like, can we talk about it? Like, but he seems to be doing. He seems to be very like he's not trying to just like burn things down. He's trying to make it better,
Yeah.
and trying to like get people to like earnestly engage with this. And then they fire him too,
Yeah.
Because he like rose to the he made a point of rising to the challenge of like I'm gonna do these like crazy shoot days and do like a good job of it. And like I think that is very clear with his performance that like I think he's
Yeah.
a phenomenal actor and has did a he like I'm happy to have noticed this along the way, just for my own little self, just to be able to say to notice that like okay, yeah, Harold Perrineau like elevated the character Michael like well beyond what was on the page for him to do. Like he made him a way more compelling character than like his like straight dialogue would indicate. And so like yeah, Harold Perrineau did not like half-ass any of this type of stuff. And they wrote him out of the show, I think, because literally, it sounds like Damon Lindelof was quoted from multiple sources saying like, an actor called me racist, so I fired his ass.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I think there's some stuff that's described in there in the article too about like I don't know what the right term is for this. Like gaslighting is probably not the right way to put it, but like when Harold Perrineau brings this up, one of the more I don't know, for want of a better word, like light ways of putting his complaints to the leads of this show is like, the showrunners is like, if you don't have interesting stuff for me to do, like I don't want to be part of the show, right? Which is, yeah, like true. Basically, his, a more direct way of putting it is like if you're just gonna make me do stereotypical, black guy stuff or whatever that's like all one dimensional and makes me and my character and Walt, look bad. Like I'm not going to be a part of that, and that turns out to be kind of the reasoning that's then used against him when he's written out of the show. I think there's something in there about Carlton Cuse, kind of saying to him like, hey, you told us we're writing you out of the show, and it's because you told us that you don't want to be around if there's nothing interesting, and we don't think we can do anything interesting with Michael anymore. So that's what happened, which is, yeah, very clearly retaliation all the same.
It seems
but,
clear to me that that's retaliation. Yeah.
I don't know, the kind of logic of it spun back around on him, and that sort of Hollywood or corporate kind of way, using your words against you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a really good point, pernicious point. How that can, yeah. Yeah, you said that you wanted to leave, so we're just helping you reach your goals in this way.
Yeah.
Um, the racism didn't stop with the treatment of Harold Perrineau and and his character either. There's some really fucked up things about Mr. Echo's character, or Mr. Echo, the character Mr. Echo, and the actor Adewale Akinyi-Abaje.
And so it goes beyond, to be clear, when you're saying this, like it goes beyond just Carlton Cuse and Damon Lindelof, and they in this article, and they're talking about how this extended to at least the writers' room, and I think the writers' room in particular, where especially it sounds like after the first season, as new writers start getting kind of hired in, it sounds, maybe I misunderstood, but it sounds like there's this kind of cliquish behavior, first of all, that happens in the writers' room, where there's this very hostile hazing or bullying or whatever that goes on of new writers entering the picture. And then on top of that, like the nature of a lot of the bullying and the hazing is, you know, racist, very sexist. Like they interview, and I guess we should say too, there's a very good split of people who are interviewed for this article who were, part of Lost in some way, or another professionally, whether they were actors, writers, other people. What do you say in the crew?
Like the crew.
In the crew. And but a good split of people who were willing to go on the record with their own name, and then other people who used pseudonyms, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like I think one of the people who used her name, Michelle, maybe I'm misremembering, but Michelle Sue, something like
Melinda
that.
Sue Taylor.
Melinda Sue Taylor. And actually, I might be wrong about this, but I think she might have. I was confused by this, but I think I recognized her name in the
Wrote the epilogue.
Epilogue, yeah. Anyway, she uses her name in the article. She talks about a lot of the racism, the sexism, the other types of bullying that happens in the writers' room, and how it's just really tough situation, because it's like it's something that so many of those writers wanted to be a part of, where they felt like this is an amazing opportunity to get to write something for network TV that like has never really happened before. But at the same time, you have to endure, all of this evilness from basically everybody around you on the job. And it reaches into like, I don't know, quite, this is maybe not a good way to put it either, but like what I think of as like purely professional bullying or malpractice as well, where they talk about like when I think she and her writing partner, if I remember correctly, they wrote like, was it The Constant or was it another? They wrote one of the big episodes. Maybe it wasn't The Constant, but they wrote another very big episode that I don't know, did it end up getting an Emmy, but it was getting a ton of attention. And then I think that really, it sounds like really bothered Carlton Cuse and Damon Lindelof. And she and her writing partner got, kind of bullied and sidelined, and just, the relationship with these showrunners, with them really, soured after that point, basically just due to this kind of like professional jealousy from the showrunners that they, accomplished this big feat, and that their name was on, as writers on that episode.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the kind of interesting things that this article made me think about too, is like we talk about like when we talk about like these hostile workplaces, and especially when we talk about representation, I guess too, which like there's been a lot of discussion about representation among of writers' rooms, people involved in making a show, whatever. I think there's a good reading of this that shows like just being able to point and say like, look, we had like women of color in the writers' room, is like as part of the composition of the writers' team. Like basically, they just had to like sit through abuse. It wasn't like that doesn't just like automatically change like the culture or something just by like having the presence, because they would just be like have to like it sounds like it sounds like people were not like modulating the racism or sexism because there were women or women of color there. They were just like, well, we're still going to be racist, and then they're like, well, I'm going to leave until you're done being racist, and then they would come back later, and then like they go back to work or something kind of thing. So like fixing a toxic culture isn't just like a matter of
the representation part,
just representation. Sometimes you're just like making more like people who are like you're making people who are like in more precarious positions deal with abuse if you just force them into those places.
Some of the ones that come to mind are like, I mean, I think it's probably a good idea just to give people, like, if you don't read the article, a good idea of like the severity of it, like specifics of what was going on. I mean, there were examples of like, writers referring to other writers in like pejorative ways. Like there was an example of like, they're probably whiteboarding or whatever, and somebody just points at a writer on the room and just says like, Korean, you're up, or whatever, like go to the chalkboard, that kind of situation, just like referring to this person as just Korean, right? There's that example of like when the character, I think, starts on the show, they had a headshot of or a picture of like Mr. Echo sitting in the middle of the room, and some a writer apparently said something along the lines of like, I better hold on to my wallet, or it looks like that guy will steal it, or something like that.
Crazy,
making a comment about this headshot to this new character, this new actor that's going to appear on your show. A lot of talk about people just crying in the office, having breakdowns in the office, that kind of stuff. With those the writers, and the backlash about the accolades that they had been basically collecting on this great episode that they had written. One of the things that they say Cuse and Lindelof kind of implied they needed to do is like that. This is something this is accolades that they had basically given to them, like that they had done the vast majority of the work, kind of set them up for this, and that it kind of implied that those writers should buy them some expensive gifts to pay them back, which I guess they ended up doing. They bought their bosses some gifts to make them try to placate them in this situation. And then other people hearing about the showrunners taking credit for episodes that they had written. The showrunners hadn't written, and just making comments to other people in the industry that, actually that one was basically all my idea. That's something that I wrote. So really spans, I think it's that, spans everything from like, pure racism and sexism to, no doubt, probably stuff that didn't make it into the article, gray area in between, and then into this stuff that's maybe not at the level of like racism, but is definitely professional malpractice,
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, I guess I want to like it's something that I see a lot, and something that I know I do a lot, and I'm sure that I've done constantly throughout this podcast about Lost is like attributing there's this like authorial primacy or like supremacy, I guess, a little bit. Um, it happens a lot about in discussion of art, like movies and TV. But like you want to sort of when you want to have like a conversation about a movie, a lot of times nowadays it gets into like, oh, isn't the director such a genius for thinking about this? Isn't like things are so like it's easy just to, it's so like tempting and seductive to just sort of attribute to like, oh wow, like the there's like one central like guy and usually a person at the center of this all that like had all of these like genius ideas, and then like everything flowed through them, and it's like their vision that has been realized. And I
think in a technical sense, maybe it's a misapplication of it, but I think in a technical sense that's what you would call like auteur theory.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And I know I did a bunch of that this whole time of talking about Lost, where like I very much like kind of just automatically referred to this show as like Lindelof's show. This is like Lindelof's vision. He wanted to do XYZ with it. And like as showrunners, like and directors and showrunners and authors, like there's a reason that like auteur theory is a thing, and there's a reason that like they're called directors, and like the whole point of like a director is supposed to like, you know, they're making decisions and people acknowledge that it's a collaborative thing or whatever. But I think that like you can take that too far, and I think I can take it too far. And just kind of like it's just easy. It's seductive to just kind of like attribute it. It's kind of just not. It's just satisfying to imagine there was like one or two geniuses at the center of this like Lost thing situation.
Yeah,
and like be like they authored this whole thing and made it so interesting. And I think that like the rise of like the prominence of I kind of feel like Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse were some of the major first examples of like what showrunner popularly known showrunners in for TV, or like it's with the rise of internet like forum culture too, to like be talking about behind the scenes kind of thing. But like you can start they had a podcast throughout all of this that kind of like can help serve the mythology of like how influential they are and how like crafted, and it's all part of the marketing, it's all part of like whatever, and it serves their own egos to be thinking that too. But that's just something that came to mind while we were talking about this too. There's there's like some really racist stuff that like I kind of just don't even want to get into necessarily, especially with Mr. Echo. People should just read the article.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I just remembered some of the other ones. Yeah, maybe you should read it.
Yeah, read the article. Like it's worth reading. This is a Vanity Fair article. This really made me like sour on the show. Like really,
it did
made me feel really bad about the show.
It did for me too. Yeah, and I think it's kind of partly related to the last thing that you said, or I've been thinking about that some more of like I don't know. I'm probably wrong for this too, but I find I think like in a lot of other media that I have seen, read, whatever, taken part in, this is a dumb way to put it, but I'll just for expediency sake, I'll say like I'm fairly good at, or whatever that means, at like uh, being able to kind of separate some of the meta stuff from what I think about a work of art. Like, I think they are inseparable, but like, I don't know. Like, I know what, just for example, like, I know what I know about like Roman Polanski, but like, I'd be lying to say that like I've seen a lot of Roman Polanski movies and I do like them. I know that other people, I guess the thing I'm trying to say is like, I know there are other people who like, they won't watch a Roman Polanski movie, or like, more to my point, they've seen his movies and now it's impossible for them to watch them again, or to enjoy them, or to think anything good about them. And yeah, I don't know, whatever it is for me, like in that case, like, seems like a terrible guy, done a lot of terrible things. um, I can I can still watch. I can. I don't know. I can know that about him, and I can still watch some of his films and enjoy them. And I don't know. I think there's probably still a line there. There are other people where I can't do that. But anyway, in this situation for Lost, I don't know. Something seems a little bit different. Like yeah, that just article really made me feel uh, very bad about it. And yeah, like sour on it, which I think like the take the metaphor very seriously. Like the souring part is the part that I don't experience very much. I gotta think like, oh, I really like that movie, and this sucks to find out that it was written by a terrible person, but it maybe doesn't like make me as often like rethink what I thought about it before. But this one I was kind of like, oh man, this is like, now I'm, yeah, rethinking a lot of aspects of it. So yeah.
Yeah. I think it's yeah. It's something that we've talked about literally for so many years on the podcast. We probably had been talking about it from the very first episode that we ever recorded in 2017. But like how to be feeling about art made by I'm euphemizing this for some reason, but complicated people.
Yeah.
Roman Polanski is a complicated figure. That's not what I mean to be saying. But I think that there's like, if you have an easy answer to it, I think you're probably wrong. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Like part of the human condition is holding the contradictions in your mind at once. So and
we're not telling you which contradictions are the hardest ones.
What if you really want to go to that island with Mr. Epstein? I don't know. I'm maybe not a great time to start riffing about this stuff. But yeah, it definitely complicates my relationship with the show. I still am still engaging with it, like in that first category that we talked about at the beginning of this episode, of like thinking about it as like the work of fiction, and like thinking about like the narratives and the character stuff like that. And I'm also thinking about all of like the behind the scenes stuff that I've learned about this since, etc.
Well, one thing I was gonna, sorry, just to kind of complete my thought from earlier, why I compared it to what you said a couple of minutes ago is that on the sort of flip side of that, I've been reflecting on too, though, even though there's like outside of everything we've been talking about, even though there's something still, I think that I guess I'll just be honest that like right or wrong is ingrained in me to think less of TV because it seems much more like a corporate endeavor because it has so many people involved, which I'm probably wrong for to a certain extent, but I think that's like it kind of ingrained a little bit deeper in me still. The nice thing about that, though, is I guess I can kind of think about Lost as, well, it did have, I guess it sounds like it did have a bunch of terrible people involved, but it also had people, a lot of people, who are more upstanding and who also did really good work on the show. The Harold Perrineaus. Yeah. And it seems like in this case, like the worst people were unfortunately the people at the top. It also sounds like, yeah, it's a really toxic writer's room, and sounded like there were also from like a cast perspective. We didn't mention this before, but not a lot of allyship on these things. There was some,
I really wanted to talk about this briefly.
Yeah, read more. You should read more about this, but like people kind of started out being like, we're going to be like the Friends cast, and we're all going to support each other for equal pay for men and women, and the white characters, and all the people of color on the cast and that kind of thing. Sounds like the white leads, who I don't know if they were ever explicitly named, but you can kind of pretty easily guess. Probably Jack, Sawyer, Locke, Kate. They're getting really high pay from the beginning, and they kind of caved on the whole allyship part, which sunk things for the other characters. Which made me feel bad. Maybe made me feel good for not liking those characters as much. But yeah, made me feel bad on that thing too.
That drove me particularly in. I can excuse racism and sexism, but I draw the line at wage discrepancy. No, that's not what I mean to be saying. People may know I'm a bit of a labor activist, or whatever, and the whole like, okay, let's present a united front for our pay, having that like Friends example so firmly in the front of their mind, and then I guess someone was just able to dangle a check or something to to break that pretty quick right away. And also just with the textual like live together, die alone like thing, that's like such a central part of like the artifact itself too. It's just like a I don't know, poetically tragic thing that's happening too. So that was another piece that I just wanted to briefly mention, that like, way to go, guys. I don't know. Anyway, is there anything else we talk about, like with these behind the scenes drama before we move on?
No, I think we should get into our
the superlatives.
Superlatives, that's the word I was looking for. Yes.
Yeah. I think it's time to have a little bit of fun, where like we've talked. Now that we've paid the piper, we've done the indulgence, or what do you call that when you just like pay off your moral debt to the Catholic Church centuries ago? Indulgence. Yeah. We've done that. We've properly self-flagellated, so now we can just like get back to talking about the fun parts of the show. Let's talk about the fun parts of the show, but not before we mention that this show is brought to you by Ben and I. We do an extra podcast every week over on patreon.com/Dr. Skeleton. We're going to have lots of cool, interesting stuff coming for you soon on the main feed, and there's always interesting stuff from the bonus feed, so check it out. We appreciate your listening. So, let's talk about some superlatives. I just wanted to like have a little bit of fun, take a trip back through memory lane. It's kind of fun to just look back on what was going on season 1. Like, what was the concepts for these early seasons? And I think a way we can do that is talk through like who are some of our favorites of the show. So, I mean, I have a very like loose structure for this. If you have any suggestions, please feel free to drive it too. But do you have a favorite season of the 6?
Okay. Yes. So you sent me the questions ahead of time, so I've got my answers in front of me. This is one of the most difficult ones.
We can start on a different one if you'd like.
No, let's start here.
Jump into it. Okay.
This is difficult, partly because I don't know. I mean, seasons are kind of arbitrary anyway. I wrote down, just to get to it, I wrote down it's maybe season 5 for me, but it's also maybe season 2 for me. But also, it's maybe all of the other seasons. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I wrote season 5. I think it's probably more of like a recency bias thing than anything. I do think I like season 5 more than I like season 6. There's still a ton of mystery happening, which is really fun. I mean, I think that's what I like the most. I like the cliffhangers. I like the mysticism, all that. But that, that takes, I don't know, that goes all the way back to season 1. You can't forget about
Mm-hmm.
season 1, the hatch. I mean, the feeling of the hatch, the feeling of that season 2 opener, which is why I wrote down season 2, being in the hatch, pretty awesome.
So
The
sick.
hatch doors opening and closing. What's Des doing down there? What are the numbers? The computer, the electromagnetism stuff, Very cool.
Yeah. I totally agree with what you're saying too, because I wrote down my favorite season is the second season. And listeners may recall this is when I hated the show more
Hated the
than any
show.
other
Yeah.
time. Like it's also my least favorite season at the same time. And so yeah, I do think that the show ended up getting more consistent with time. Like seasons 4, 5, and 6 are like pretty consistent. I don't think we had too many like really low points.
Oh,
The
yeah.
way that I was like pissed off about some things that were happening in season 2.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm still gonna like hold with I love the hatch. I loved Dharma initiative stuff. It scratches my brain in such a particular way to have that mysterious enter the sequence of numbers into this old retro looking computer to stop the end of the world every 108 minutes.
Yeah.
So sick. I'm gonna say second season is my favorite for those reasons. I miss the hatch. I wish I ever since I was sort of like hoping like, ooh, I hope we go back to more like weird, mysterious computer stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Do you have a worst season?
Yes, it's 2. And that is because yeah, whatever. I didn't really like the Ana Lucia character that much.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
A
okay.
lot of wheel spinning.
I wrote down the only number I haven't said so far is 3, I think. I think I haven't said 3 so far. And I wrote that down just because it was the last number that I came to of the 6 as I was kind of like ranking them in my mind. Because I wasn't as into like the Dharma Initiative stuff, and you got the others and that kind of whatever. But also it's in the middle of the show. It's when all the other crazy stuff. It's in some sense it's when like we have the least answers to things, the most open.
But there's
questions.
so many like great moments in season 3. It might have the greatest moments of the show in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
The We Have to Go Back is still goated. At, like the reveal of those are flash forwards is really sick. Really smart. Really cool things. But yeah, it's also like the halfway point that like we just can't be answering things here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about characters.
Okay.
Who's your favorite character?
Okay. I've got more cop-outs on these ones because I wrote down different people. Okay, I think people listening to the show, I like Sun. She's the most normal character to me, and I just want to watch a show where nothing
Interesting is happening,
and I have a character. I know some people. I remember this is what I remember from high school when I wasn't watching Lost, but other people around me were. I remember people thought, I'm like Jack. You're like Jack. You're like Jack. You're like everybody wants to be Jack. No, I want to be Sun. I want to be somebody who's a good babysitter, probably. Just kind of normal, but also can do stuff too. I want to see somebody. I want representation of me in a show, and I see myself represented best by this Korean woman who's 20, 30 years older than me, 20-ish years older than me.
very cute, very interesting that the person that you don't see representing you is the character named Ben, who's from your hometown.
Yeah. But she does the things that I would do if I was in a TV show, or that I'd like to think I would do, which is a mix of being normal, but also still clearly I would be a main character too. but I'd be a normal person. Be a normal person, do insane things throughout it. Okay. Next up, not really like a full 6-season main character. Mr. Echo. Very badass character. Extremely. I like him in the way that, who's the coolest character? Who's the most swagged out character in a show? That's also who I see myself in, the most swagged out person on a show. I like Mr. Echo. He's got a very, very cool background. Probably the coolest background story. If you're just taking people, it's your first day of college.
Let me see your stats.
Who are you? What did you do? Oh, where'd you come from before you came to college at the University of Iowa?
Lost you, yeah.
Mr. Echo, my fellow 18-year-old Mr. Echo. And he's like, yo, I grew up, I was a warlord. I was a warlord in Africa, and I pretended to be a priest. And yo, my brother, I don't know how my brother's
saying yo.
Sorry.
Yo, it's me.
I'm saying it. Okay. I'm not saying it that way. I'm saying it because he's the most swagged out character. So he's my cool guy voice.
Okay.
Sorry, to be clear.
Yeah. I do think I think that the Mr. Echo character really had represented a lot of some of the most interesting things that Lost had going on with the contradictions of faith, and what's more interesting in writing a story is when you have characters with very very firmly held ideologies conflicting with each other. That's a great way to tell a story, and Mr. Echo represents a lot of that, even internally, in a lot of ways. Cool background.
I think my true favorite character, though, if I'm given my answer that I'm going to write a term paper about or something like that, a mix of a good actor, mix of a good character. He's written well, cool story. Desmond. He's got a cool accent. He's got great hair. He's got a heterodox background that got him onto the island, which I think is very cool. I'm being big brain over here. I'm watching the first pilot of Lost, and someone, who's your favorite character? And I'm tenting my fingers and saying, my favorite character has not appeared yet.
You haven't seen him yet.
You haven't seen it yet. Yeah. Not even knowing that Desmond's going to show up. But that's, who I am as a TV watcher. I'm like, it can't be any of the normal people. I've got to find somebody who's a little different. And what if I had a guy that's, maybe you would just, in some sense, maybe you just call him the schizophrenic guy, even though he's not really pitched that way, but that's basically who he is. He's like, okay, what if there was a guy who was actually really cool under electromagnetism, around magnet? What if magnets hurt everybody else's brains, but not this guy? That's Desmond.
Yeah, Desmond's really cool. Sick. Yeah. I like your list. I like your list a lot. I agree with a lot. I mean, they're really. There's a lot to like about a lot of the characters. I want to shout out Ben is a really interesting character, and I like his arc. But I think my number one character, I think Sawyer is my favorite.
Interesting.
I like the Sawyer redemption. I like the way that he embraces being with Juliet. He pissed me off a lot early on, and I think he was a good foil to like the jackness of the show. And I'd like,
Yep.
I'm just a sucker for a little bit of a cowboy anyway, though. So
there you go.
I'm gonna go Sawyer.
Least favorites?
Do you have a least? I don't know if I have a least favorite. I mean, I guess Anna Lucy, yeah.
Well, so I left her off my list, but I've got some other people in the vein of Anna Lucia who are, it's kind of overlap with like least favorite actors in a way too. I don't know, but I'll just name off a couple. Charlotte, kind of annoying to me. I'm no disrespect to wherever she's from, but with the accent, I just didn't like it. It's a little too, oi governor to me. It's just a little, she's just a little, I don't know. It was a little annoying. I kind of don't like Horace or Radzinski either. But that's kind of, that's kind of a baby brain take because I'm like, I don't like guys
They're
that were
mean.
mean to the other characters. Yeah, I wouldn't have liked them if I was in the universe. Knock off Tina Fey, aka Zoe, is kind of a boring character too. So I'm kind of for like somebody who I'm like I can do without you. Same thing for Alana at the end, where you're too little.
Let's
too
name
late.
some more men on the list.
I know. Okay, I've only got one. I've got one more.
Yeah.
My controversial take. Sorry, it is a woman this time, but it's not.
All right.
It's not what's going on here. My controversial take. I had to pick one from the main cast.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because there wasn't enough of her. She's gone too long, and then she's so crazy when she comes back, and then never kind of does anything that was that interesting to me. It's like we lost her to the craziness of the island too early on, and that's Claire.
That is a pretty crazy take, or that's a controversial take. That's a hot take to say Claire is your least favorite character. Yeah,
yeah. I'm trying to just give from different, because you have a least favorite character who's like some background, bozo or something like that.
I mean, it's like it's too easy to
Claire,
just say Anna Lucia.
If I had to rank, really main people around for all 6 seasons, that kind of thing, I guess maybe it's Claire.
Interesting.
And a very critical character in some sense, but I just I wasn't that interested after she got taken.
Yeah. Can I gotta have like a I have not done like an official ranking or anything like that. I'm just gonna kind of vibe it through. But like I am not a. This is kind of a hot take, but I don't like Jacob as a character.
That's a good. He did cross my mind. Yeah. Well, how so?
I think he was underdeveloped, frankly. Like, I think that there was too much evoking and contradiction within him. Like, he's like good and bad and like, I don't know. He's like annoying. He's kind of pissing me off a little bit, dude.
Yeah.
I think that just comes down to him. He's just annoying to me.
Can I
like so much of it of like everything that happened was because like he has this like kind of like it's arbitrarily the way he runs things, which that's I guess maybe not necessarily that's maybe a more criticism of the show generally, but like why is the island moving or like why can't people be leaving the island or kind of like other XYZ sort of thing. He has this side of this. He kind of has this random goal of like. I want to show that people are actually good, but I'm not going to talk to them, and I'm going to have this like weird standoff type thing, and I miss my mommy.
Yeah. He difficult situation, difficult kind of hole to dig himself out of too, where he's got a much more swagged out brother. I kind of wanted to like a lot of things. Unfortunately, they go in pairs, and so even though there's other people who I'd want to see more than both of them, like I'm often thinking about Jacob in the context of him and the man in black, the boy in black, or whatever you want to call him. And I'm like, damn, bring Bosch back. Why couldn't Bosch have been the guy that wrong brother died? Wrong son.
I forgot to say that Locke was my favorite character. Locke is my favorite.
yeah.
Well, yeah. But yeah, Jacob. So I'll maybe say Jacob's my least favorite.
Okay. That's a good one. Very controversial one.
Actors.
Your
favorite actor?
I got like Ana Lucia. I like Michelle Rodriguez as Ana Lucia, but I kept thinking about that. I'm like, do I just not like her character, or do I not like her as the actor? Oh, favorite. Oh, I did write Henry Ian Cusick as Desmond, which is, I know this is another one where it's hard to separate the characters.
I mean, you can't have one without the other, I don't think.
Yeah.
Right? Like
usually,
part of what makes the character so great is like the performance is really great.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think he did, the performance is
I think he did a great job.
Mm-hmm. I know, like, I think other people, maybe this is what you're going to say, but I'm sure a lot of people say the same thing about Locke. But I like, Henry Ian Cusick even more.
Nice.
What's yours?
Yeah. I mean, Terry O'Quinn.
Yep.
Beast mode all the way through. Especially thinking this last week a lot about Michael. Just like, and I think I'm gonna have to give the trophy to Harold Perrineau because of what we said earlier in the show. Just like, he doesn't actually get that great of a character, but the fact that he made that character not only just like, not only just like fine or like it could fit in, but like elevated him to like a compelling level, like purely on his performance. I think he needs to get the trophy for it. And kind of similarly, Michael Emerson, being able to take sort of what it sounds like, this kind of character that we're not really sure what was going to happen with him. He was only supposed to be around for a little bit, this Ben Linus thing, and go be so interesting, and like being able to just like talk your way through anything and just like hold you with those eyes of his. That's really impressive. So I think that Harold Perrineau, closely followed by Michael Emerson for me.
Yep. Worst
actor.
This is actually probably the hardest one for me.
I'm not honestly who are you thinking of? Who you got?
I mean, I was in a hater mode earlier, and I kind of, because I didn't put her on my other list, I kind of wrote down Michelle Rodriguez, but again, it's kind of difficult to separate. I don't think
she did. I don't know.
You think that's the character?
Really?
Because I've seen her in other
it's the character.
I've seen her in other movies, and she's similar, which but whatever, this kind of boring one.
She has a thing, but like
she has a thing,
It can work, and it can be interesting.
Sure. So that was kind of my, I don't know. My even more boring answer is probably like the textbook answer, which is just in the background character. So not all that interesting, but like Bai Ling, as I had to look up her character's name.
Sure.
Akahara in the Jack's Tats episode. But I mean, that's a very Bai Ling
that's your least favorite actor? I thought you...
I love her, but I mean, I think she's the worst. I think she's the worst actor in the show.
Okay.
Love seeing her on screen. She's very fun.
What about Cheech Marin?
I don't think that, I almost wrote him down as a fun like background character I like, but yeah.
Were there any like super goofy line to it? I gotta say, like, I feel like everyone did like a pretty good job.
Yeah. You didn't like when Rob McElhenney showed up, I think.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Rob McElhenney is my least favorite actor on the show. Thank you.
Okay.
And the long arm of like the long arm, the universe bends towards justice on that guy. I think the tides are turning. My hater,
Interesting.
my hater manifestations are coming true on him. I think that
I don't know what's going on there.
are,
I'll have to find that out later.
oh, he's just becoming like a plastic surgery addict. His veneers are taking over his body.
Interesting.
He's a damn freak. Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, I mean, I'm Dominic Monaghan. Like,
I know you didn't like, Charlie.
I think that like part of the reason that I don't actually want to give him like to say like it's like if it's good or bad. I think it was a very effective character because he like fucking got under my skin so much. But it really did annoy me a lot of time. Like just the quirky little affect stuff.
Yeah.
Was annoying to me.
Yeah.
But I think that was on purpose. So
I guess so. Yeah. I don't know exactly how his character would be if not that, if it wasn't that. Maybe like I'm trying to think of like a more toned down version of that. And maybe it's like one of the guys from Train Spotting, you know? Also another British guy that's on drugs or something, but it's toned down a little bit. But I don't know. It's hard to imagine the character Charlie without the Dominic Monaghan stuff on top of it.
yeah. All right. Got a favorite episode?
You did not put episode on the list, but I do have favorite scenes.
Yes. Tell me about your favorite scenes.
Okay. Okay. I think my genuine answer is there's like too many to pick from, but I'll like a style of scene across multiple episodes, but especially in the constant is anything where Desmond is going back and forth in time or whatever, you know, this electromagnetic stuff. On the topic of Charlie, though, I will say that, and this is pulling from this watch through as well as I think I hopefully said this at the time. It's one of the things that I remembered most about Lost from when I watched most of Lost 10 years ago. And that's the Charlie death scene, and especially the moment where he puts his hand up to the glass that says not Penny's boat. Because yes, it is the end of Charlie, and I know I kind of got on the hater train a little bit with you about Charlie at the end, but I don't know, that moment, that not Penny's boat thing, and now you're like 2, 3 seasons, whatever. Can't remember now. You're in the middle of the show. There's a lot of mystery. You've got this character going out, but it's not just like the, Harold Perrineau blowing Ana Lucia away or whatever. You've got Charlie going out, doing something and saying something very mysterious at the same time, like it's a really saturated moment in the run of the show. So yeah. I like that a lot.
I want to jump on that too and agree with you that, like, especially as a certified Charlie hater, like that still creeps into, like, if I bet if we sat down and like forced ourselves to come up with like a top 5 or whatever, like I think that would make into a top 5 moment, even though I didn't really like Charlie as a character. But like his whole greatest hits through the end of his life arc there, I thought actually was pretty great, and it was an affecting end to his life.
The goofy answers to this question are that, those moments that I just like pure joy are any of the times any kind of like violent wire pull is happening by a stuntman in the background. So you've got like, I'm not remembering all of them, and I felt stupid, so I just did a list off the top of my head. But like Locke falling out of the window, extremely fun.
So good.
Locke getting like Super Smash Bros. Style blasted across the parking lot out of a wheelchair, also very cool. Even just the little ones like Arst and was it Alana? Whoever else, other people blowing up from
Yes.
Dynamite, that kind of stuff. Very cool.
Do you remember when Michael gets absolutely flattened when he's like he hangs up the payphone? He's like, "All right, I'm on my way to Australia," and then he like turns around and then just like gets hit at like 80 miles an hour.
Yeah,
yeah.
That stuff is awesome. Yeah, those are great moments too.
Love those moments. Those are so good. I agree with all of those. Yeah. Anytime someone blows themselves up, awesome.
Yep. Worst moment? Or do you have other best moments?
The we have to go back was like so sick to me. I kind of a basic pull, but that was great.
You know, I don't know if you know this, but that is a commonly cited worst moment. After I made my list, I was like looking up some other
really
like fan stuff to see like what am I maybe forgetting about? Do I need to jog my memory on anything? And I it's just one of the things I remember seeing that like a lot of people didn't like We Have to Go Back, even though it's maybe one of the most quoted lines like in the show. It's become so like iconic. A lot of people thought it was too goofy.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, all of the like the major moments of the show, I think, or like the most like iconic bits of it, like, you know, Jack laying on the beach at the end with Vincent, like, loved it. Like, Not Penny's Boat, loved it. We Have to Go Back, loved it. The sort of like the yo-yo that we did through the introduction of Ben's character when he was Henry Gale for a little bit, I do think was really excellent. That it's not like one scene necessarily on its own, but like each episode had me going like is this guy a villain or is this guy a total victim? Like is he is he controlling everything, or is he like perfectly innocent and he's being unjustly held captive and beaten? Like, just like the swing on that, like the dynamic range of that was so well done and dialed in for me.
Yep.
So I think I will give that to that.
Did you have a favorite episode? Did I steamroll?
Oh yeah.
Thing?
The Constant.
Yeah, I think that's what I would. I mean, that's the one that comes to mind off the top of my head. I can't think of it.
I think that's just like a perfect episode of TV.
Yeah.
That like all the way through, excellent.
Yep.
Basically, like no notes, and you know, I bet they're wiping. Thank God, Will doesn't have any notes for me on this one. But like, yeah, that was great.
I know I gave other fives, but yeah, I mean that one's definitely stuck with me. Worst scene. I wrote down.
Nothing is immediately coming to mind.
So I wrote down like there's another kind of low hanging fruit, but like the Biling stuff in the Jazz Tats episode, but that's kind of throwaway answer too. One that I wrote down that I found out actually is fairly high consensus on amongst community members like ourselves now. Now we're part of the community. We are inducted since we finished the show. Hurley fixing the van and then driving it around to kind of like inspire people, which I don't know if it really bothered me at the time, but like
I think I remember that bothering us.
It did kind of came back to mind as like that was stupid. It kind of goes in line with like the golfing stuff too, where it's like I'm not really mad. I'm not mad about it, but like you're kind of wasting my time. That's a little goofy.
Yes. This reminds me of what I think I'm going to say my least favorite scene, maybe, but like maybe episode, like subplot sort of thing, is the Sawyer holding everyone hostage at gunpoint, basically. Like randomly, one we're like, he's been an antisocial, like every man for himself guy so far. But this one is just like him straight up like I'm stealing all the medicine and guns, and I'm gonna like kill you all if you don't do what I say, kind of thing.
And is this where they resolve the situation by playing ping pong?
They resolve it. I can't remember exactly how they resolve it, but yeah, the next day they're playing ping pong, kind of thing. Like it's so like it's not just because like, oh, I like Sawyer and he did a mean thing. It's that like this was like out of character and like never reckoned with. This was a very like weird thing that happened that I think got away from them and like just didn't work for me. So I'm gonna maybe say that whole thing.
Nice.
It's just like way too extreme on that bit that just like this kind of broke the character for a while, and that like I have to just ignore as part of his character for me to like think about the rest of the show, because like still for the rest of this season, like for the rest of like the years and years and years we spent with the characters, I would like always be thinking about like, okay, yeah, thanks for helping me out here, but like, didn't you like point a gun at all of us at one time? Like that forever.
Yeah.
That's always gonna be part of it.
Yep. All right.
Do you have a least favorite? Or did you already say that?
No, I already said my stuff. Okay. The Hurley.
Oh yeah.
I do. Okay, I'm gonna try to shoehorn this now. I don't know if you have any other superlatives, but I think that's through my list.
I want. Let me just.
Okay.
Then let me say a scariest moment.
Scariest moment. Okay.
The Ethan Rom reveal. They're like, "Hello there," like whatever he said there in the forest. Yeah. That like straight up super creeped me out. Like the reveal that he like was an other before we knew what that meant. Yeah. And like me putting together like Ethan Rom is other man, and like he's not on the manifest, and like his William Mapother's performance is so creepy there. Like that stayed the scariest bit for me. That was
interesting.
So good moment to that.
I don't know if I have a good pull for that off the top of my head. I think I probably got scared by something in the show. Yeah. I mean, Ethan is a good scary character, spooky guy. Mm-hmm. Spooky guy.
He's like uncannily tall. It's part of it too. It's just like it's like a
Tom Cruise. I'm Tom Cruise.
I'm stretched out Tom Cruise. Yeah. Do you have a most controversial opinion about the show? You think like on the meta like community front?
Controversial? Oh shit. I don't know. Did I miss the list on?
No, I'm just making things up as we go.
Most controversial one. Well, the Claire, not liking Claire that much is probably sort of high up there. I almost put Kate on my list there.
Not liking Kate.
Yeah. I mean the Iowa disrespect.
Yeah.
We're not Texas. No Longhorns. I don't know why I'm saying we. I'm a lifelong New Yorker now. But
yeah, I think the thing that like would get the Lost community most angry with me is that I think that the Nikki and Paolo episode was good. I really liked that episode.
I think, yeah. I did read a lot about that when I was looking up other superlatives, and the voice of the people in our community is that they didn't like Nikki and Paolo, but people kind of liked that episode. But they were also happy to see them die.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So it's not that they didn't like the episode. They mostly just didn't like the characters.
Yeah.
I liked the characters, and I liked that episode.
Oh, so interesting. Yeah. I did
and
feel
the Saeed and Shannon stuff sucks.
So I think. Yeah, we didn't talk about that. Yeah, Saeed and Shannon. I felt that they left the door open with Nikki and Paolo too, because
I thought
the way that they
someday they'll come back.
Yeah. I did too. I mean, I had seen everything except the last two episodes, so I guess in my mind I was like, maybe at the end of the show they're gonna come back.
The finale is just them. It's Nikki and Paolo too.
Yeah. Maybe
that's the sequel, the spin-off series.
What if Lost had zombies on a submarine? Would you like to? Okay, now this is even better shoehorn. Would you like to take part in my game show within a podcast. I don't know why I'm doing spooky voice still. My game show
let's do
within
it.
a podcast. Okay. I put together a little quiz show where there are no prizes for Will that I would like to call the Scott and Steve Memorial Quiz. Do you remember these characters show?
Okay.
So for anybody who's already lost on Scott and Steve, two background characters since day one, often mixed up by everybody else on the show. And in honor of them, I would like to say some names of characters to Will and see if he has any idea who these people are. And there's a ton of characters. You know, we got like
Yeah.
a lot of background characters, but I tried to pick some that I think are a good mix of people who I don't think you're going to guess, but I think are people that had a fairly big impact on the show. So I'm not saying that some of these people might have only been in a couple episodes or something, but like I think these are, you know, it's not like Bill Duke's character or something like that. It's not the Warden or something like that. Okay. Do you know who are Emma and Zach?
Oh, they're the kids who were in the tail section.
Wow. Yes. Ding, ding, ding. Impressive. I don't think I would have pulled that one. Very good. Okay, now I'm a little scared on this next one. So I'm going to give you a first name the first name should be enough. There's not another one on the show, but do you know who is Edward? And if you don't know, I will give you a last name.
I'm gonna guess in hopes that was it the pilot?
No.
Okay.
I did want to put the pilot on this list, but no, it was not. How about this? Edward Mars.
Oh yeah, he was the marshal.
Ding, ding, ding. Wow. Very impressive. I'm extremely
Mars,
impressed because
short
I
for
could not
Marshall.
have done any of the Marshall. Yeah, exactly. Edward Mars is the U.S. Marshal who dies in like the third. I saw on Wikipedia said the third episode, which seems like he was around longer than that. We do see him more.
We do see him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But dies in the third episode, which I think Jack canoes him.
Several of them try to shoot him and fail. And then
shoot him in the head.
Yeah.
I think Jack goes back and does it because a doctor
knows
how
where
to
to shoot
somebody in the
someone
head the best. Yes. Yeah. How about Jay Lee? Who is Jay Lee?
That was Son's English tutor /
wow,
affair partner, a hotel magnate.
Very impressive. Yes, the guy who has an affair with Sun and teaches her English, which is a major part of the show. Maybe not. I mean, the affair, big. Sun learning English, also a major part of the show. Big one. Okay. I've got I've got one more, and then I've got a special bonus round.
Okay.
Who is Ray Mullen?
Nothing's immediately coming to mind. Can you give me a hint?
I'm Ray Mullen, mate.
Okay, I'm trying to see through, decipher through your accent work. If that means that he was he like a monk with Desmond?
I'm Ray Mullen. No, it's another. I'm Ray Mullen, mate. I'm Ray Mullen. I can't do accents.
You'll have to tell me.
Ray Mullen is the Australian farmer who takes in Kate.
Yeah, wouldn't have gotten that. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Good pull.
All right.
Good pull.
You are doing very well, so I don't know that you really need the bonus round here. But in honor of Scott and Steve, I've got a different type of question about Scott and Steve. Obviously, again, they are the most disrespected characters on the show.
In-universe people who don't know their names. Like,
don't know their names.
Examples of people who are forgettable.
But this is the Scott and Steve memorial quiz because Scott and Steve both die in this show. And because we are respecting them, I am expecting that you know roughly when both of them died. When did Scott die and when did Steve die? When or
are you looking for a season number?
You don't have to tell me a season number, but what I would expect of somebody who respects the namesakes of our quiz show is that you would be able to tell me basically how they died.
Of course I do. First of all, of course. So there is some on purpose mixing up of who Scott and Steve are a little bit. Like that was Steve or that was Scott, man. Hurley keeps track of them. I remember that. Sawyer screws them up. There at one point there was the like volley of fire arrows that killed Frogurt, but I think Scott and Steve both died before that, and I think that happened in the third season. So I'm gonna guess they both died in the second season.
No.
First and second season.
No, I think they both. You really close with one of them, even though I guess you didn't honorably name who.
Yeah, I don't know.
Scott dies in the first season by the hand of Mr. Ethan.
How did it happen?
Oh shit! Now I can't remember. I forgot to write down that part.
Okay.
Shanks him? Shit! I forgot to write down that part. Damn! I guess I'm not a very good MC for this part. Steve dies mini episodes, seasons later by the fire arrows. So you were very close with that one. But yes.
Nice.
So I guess they've been dishonored. But you've done a remarkably great job.
Good job with the quiz. That was fun. That was interesting.
But yes, they did die. They're not the same guy. We must remember their names and remember that they died literally seasons apart from one another, though both equally disrespected, I suppose. Would you rather be the guy that died first and nobody remembered your name, or would you be the guy who living Steve? Would you rather be Steve? Now that we know, would you rather be Steve? A few
more years
living while everybody thinks that you were the guy that died, or maybe you're not the guy that died? What was the deal with that?
Well, depending on how Ethan killed Scott, I think I would need to. It was Scott, right?
Scott, yeah.
Okay. I think dying by a fire arrow would really fucking suck. So I think I'm gonna just hedge and choose. I would prefer to be Scott, just by method of death alone. Not even legacy, not even factoring in.
I feel like a fire arrow wouldn't. It's not gonna kill you right away. That's not like an instant death type thing. I think like an arrow is usually not an instant death type thing. So now you got an arrow sticking through you and it's on.
And you're on fire.
So yeah, pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
Rough. Pretty rough. You can't roll around either. Never thought about that. You know, stop, drop. You can't stop, drop, and roll.
No.
That's what really gets you. That's what gets you. Died by inability to stop, drop, and roll.
That's not good. All right. Was that it? Is that the quiz?
That is the quiz.
Wonderful. Very good. Very good job. I was maybe thinking like, oh, we should get the whiskey out and toast some McCutcheon. But let's
McCutcheon.
Is there anything else we need to say about Lost? I think that like we do the picnic at Hanging Rock is a cipher for it too.
Wait, what?
Remember that movie?
Wait, yeah, no, I know Picnic at Hanging Rock. Yeah, what's the connection?
That I think that there's a lot of connections to it. In retrospect, we can think of like my reading of Picnic at Hanging Rock was that it was not aliens. It was just a rock that crazy shit happens on. And then I think that like the island. It's not aliens, no whatever. It's just kind of a crazy island, you guys.
Island. Yo, what's the deal?
Yeah.
What's going on here? Okay. I believe I talked about Picnic at Hanging Rock at the beginning of our podcast, right? And then, but then I thought I had just fake newsed it. I think I fake newsed some information about Peter Weir.
Yes, you lied about something.
See, folks, it's not that I just forget about Lost. I don't even know about the stuff I've said in my own life.
Well, yeah, I feel like saying goodbye to Lost feels interesting. Again, we spent a whole year with it, but I'm glad that we went through this whole this retrospective. It's good to like grapple with everything. And any last thoughts you want to share about Lost?
R.I.P. Bring it back.
R.I.P.
You know, it's just every show ends the same way as Twin Peaks ends, which is, you know, it doesn't. I'll be back in 25 years or whatever. So looking forward to it. Looking forward to the
return.
Actually, probably don't, because it's like we locked ourselves in with the James Bond series. Now we've got to watch. I mean, I would do it anyway, but now we got to do an episode for every James Bond movie that comes out. So, you know.
You don't want to do an episode about, you're not excited for Denis Villeneuve's Bond?
Oh, man. Who knows?
Did you see that?
I did hear about that, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
They're casting Matthew Fox.
That'd be nice. They're right with that.
Dr. Bond.
He named Casino Royale as his favorite Bond film.
Nice. Guy who just watched James Bond for the first time yesterday.
What?
No.
That can't be your take.
I agree. Casino Royale is great, but
it's the best one.
I know, but I wouldn't say that if they hired me to do the thing. I wouldn't say that. I would give a different answer. I'd give a answer that makes people know
that's
that
why
I
it's an
watched the other
exciting.
movies.
That's why that's people want to be doubters about it. And I don't know, the Amazon MGM thing of it all is concerning. But like I believe in Denis, and him naming Casino Royale as his favorite Bond movie is cool.
I guess
he's right.
Good. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's James Bond.
That's gonna be James Bond for you. Folks, next week, we're going to be launching season 3 of Dr. Skeleton's Art School. 8 years into our run.
Are we? Okay, we're starting it next week. Okay. Sounds good.
I think. I don't know. What else would we do?
I don't know.
We're talking about Lost again?
I don't know what else we were going to do.
Restart? Okay. Well, okay. Pending offline arguments.
No, we'll do it next week. I guess it's taken care of.
Next week, we are launching the next season of this podcast, where we're gonna start watching Twin Peaks. I mean, we've already announced it, but it's true. We are changing the name of the show to reflect the broader that it's no longer just about Lost. Now the show's gonna be called On Ice, the show about the show, the podcast. And so it'll be Dr. Skeleton's Art School.
It's not going to have Twin
season Lost on Ice. Season 2, Twin Peaks on Ice,
Twin Peaks season 1.
Yeah, Twin Peaks, Twin Peaks season 1. Yeah.
Yep. Episode 1. Probably episode 1, episodes 1 and 2. No, we're just going to do one episode.
No, we're just doing the one.
Episode 1. Okay.
But it will be like episode like 500 something altogether.
500 at the prefix at the beginning.
Yeah. So, I think that's perfectly clear.
Is it actually the 500th episode of the show? No, we already did that, right?
Well, are we counting the premium episodes? there's even more dumb bullshit that we have to consider there. I actually don't know. Let's see. We did 40. This is the 49th Lost episode.
Okay.
And we did, as it loads up here, 390. We did 372 mainline episodes that were not premium and not Lost. So this is going to be the 372.
Also confusing too that we have some lost episodes from the past
Yes.
as well.
This was our 421st mainline feed episode that we're
Nice.
wrapping up now. And we're going to, how many, whatever, that we've gone long enough. That thank you so much for being on this journey with us. Next week, we are going to get into, it continues, into a new show.
It's like the Oregon Trail, but we're going back to the East Coast.
We have to go back, as they say. Thank you all so much for joining us for this exciting journey. We'll see you next week for our trip up to the Pacific Northwest. Ooh.
Real Oregon Trail, yeah.
Yeah.
We got to go back
Goodbye.
to Oregon.